Organization is a big part of filmmaking, and it's a big part of any video making, to be honest. When you come into filmmaking, you're gonna get more gear. You can be smart about your purchasing choice, but eventually, even a very dialed down person will have more and more gear to worry about. Without further ado, Pelican 1535 Air.
This case has been with me for more than 2 years, and I think it's worth every penny.
This is a carry-on case is what it's mainly for. It's a big case that's perfectly the size of any airline regulation. You can carry it on the plane. I think it's about $400 plus. It just makes sense to use expensive stuff to carry other expensive stuff. So this is what it kind of looks like. It's very messy at the moment, but you see the main point is just this divided into a bunch of different parts. The common competitor is like Nanook 935, which is also a carry-on case, but I just find this case really a lot bigger than the Nanook because of this trackpad. So speaking of trackpad, they're pretty expensive. You're already paying like $300, if not $400 for a case. It's not a good idea to cheap on the trackpad. They give you I think in my opinion, 35, if not 40% more room, just because of the depth of the case. It's actually really deep. So you can kind of stack things on top of each other. If you have the padded divider or if you have the foam, then you don't actually get to use that depth. Obviously, if you ended up with a cheap case rather than this one, this is quite expensive. If you have a cheap case like those Vault or like an old case you get secondhand, then if you have a bunch of case, then it doesn't really matter anymore. But for this one specifically, I would recommend a trackpad 100%.
The actual real-life practice of this case is that you can pretty much carry everything you need for a small video production into this case.
Such as like going to an event or film even weddings, all your things that you need, including a gimbal, into this one case. And because wedding tends to not fly around all the time, so a case is actually really helpful because you can just lay it on the side and don't worry about people kicking it or stepping on it even. And speaking of protection, obviously, if you know there's a bunch of expenses in this case, you're not gonna throw it around. This case, carrying all my camera and lenses did fall from top of SUV once. Straight, it just ran off and it just fell off. And everything inside survived, nothing got damaged. So I don't know, I don't have trust issues with trackpad and the Pelican cases. So I'm just gonna say it provides some kind of protection.
And I also want to mention that Pelicans are weather sealed. So if you ever work in rain or snow, this actually helps great. It feels awesome to have a Pelican.
So one of the most beneficial things is that you open this case up, you see everything inside it. You know which kind of cubicles you want the stuff in, and you just grab it out. Compared to a backpack where you kind of have to dig into it and try to find the stuff you want. And of course, I know recently the backpacks are doing those kind of you open the whole back of it. But in that case, it's pretty much a case. But I just kind of find this, you have to dump the backpack on the ground to open it. Rather than this case, I don't care if it's shoved on the ground or it's being stepped on or is it dirty. Whereas as a backpack, if I just throw it on snow, wet stuff, and I try to put it on my back, it's kind of weird. So that's just kind of my thing. General rule of thumb, if you need to move around during the shoot, then grab a backpack because you need to carry it with you. But if you don't need to carry stuff with you, which video tends to be pretty stationary compared to photography, a case would be a smart idea. Third is that cases can stack. You can stack them on top of each other. You can shove them in your trunk and put any heavy stuff on top of them. Generally speaking, you don't have to worry about the stuff inside them being squashed. That's a big plus for me because when loading into a car, you can shove 7 cases in there and just don't worry about them kind of bumping or something should be on top. However, there's a few downside with these cases. The most obvious is that they are very limited by their kind of sizes. That's kind of the reason why I got the bag. But again, this can be solved by having a lot of cases that are different sizes. I said I don't have a permanent kind of place to live, so I can't really afford carrying a bunch of cases with me because I might ship it. But again, if you have a house and you just get a big case for your camera, get a small case for your, video transmitter, which is a very common practice, Get a small cases for your batteries, get a medium case, because the cases, they are pretty cheap secondhand, and you don't need this expensive case for like scrap stuff, right? And another problem I run into is that it's just too much stuff in one case. Like if I'm taking one case with me, this is perfect, I can put everything in, but preferably if the stuff I'm taking is getting more than one case, then putting a lot of stuff in one case doesn't make sense, right? Because if you're trying to if you have like 7 cases, if you have 7 independent stuff, you want to know like, if I want to look for monitors, it should be in that case, and everything should be in that case. It shouldn't be somewhere else. So again, this can be solved by having like multiple smaller cases, but that's something, it's worth money. And then it's, you know, depends. So my solution to that is this, is this shaped camera bag,
which I love, but I'll explain that in the next video. Stay tuned.